Okay, we're at Dubai FinTech Summit, day 2, and I'm here joined by a number of esteemed guests. My name's Sean, and maybe we'll start with Neil. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Neil Petch, chairman and founder of Virtuzone, been in Dubai 30 years, and thanks to Emirates NBD, have just seen an AI camera that can make me look 20. So Dubai's the place to be.
Thank you, Neil. Rohit, what about yourself?
Rohit, Garg, head of business banking for Emirates NBD Group.
Welcome. Majid?
Majid, Saeed, AbdulGhaffar. I'm head of digital partnerships, more focused on the government and academia sectors.
All right, gentlemen, welcome for this conversation that we're going to have today around building ecosystems for business banking success. So maybe I'll start with you, Neil. Tell me a little bit more about Virtuzone.
So Virtuzone actually came about in 2008, 2009. I've been here 30 years, but my business partner was working for the executive office for Sheikh Mohammed, and he wanted to set up a side business, and he wanted to do it whilst minimizing the risk, not hugely expensive. In those days, this was 2007, real estate was booming. He was asked, what's the real estate play? He said, there is none. It's something to help startups get going with a minimal of effort, maximum speed, but from a banking side, making sure that all the information's there. So that's how Virtuzone started. We've now set up over 7,000 companies. We're setting up 500 every single month. And I genuinely believe that the world capital of setting up companies, for so many reasons, which could have me talking for an hour, is the UAE. Certainly the most tax efficient, definitely the safest place. And I'm a Brit, so I'm not going to talk about the weather, but what a great place to be. Couple of little things that we have had missing until recently, and that is, firstly, access to a bank account. Secondly, access to cash to grow. I'm always trying as Virtuzone to solve the pain points of my customers to help make it easier for them to grow. And that's why we're here today. And that's why Virtuzone is extremely proud in the partnership. And by the way, I opened a bank account with Emirates NBD 30 years ago.
Thank you for your business.
So in some ways, we've been partners for 30 years, but never has our partnership been more exciting than today because of what it offers and what we can thus go out to the world and tell them.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Maybe moving on to Rohit. Business banking at Emirates NBD. What does that cover? What does that mean? What kind of clients do we have?
So Emirates NBD, 61-year-old institution supporting the core of SMEs in Dubai for all this while. I think it means offering everything under the sun and more to any business which is wanting to set up, to grow, to manage and scale. From, like I said, from a startup to a mature SME, which becomes a large corporate. The bank has the whole breadth of SMEs, and there are examples of companies that started as very small companies with us, and we've supported them through the journey, and they've become like really big companies. Some of the real marquee names have been our SME clients and have moved on to become large corporates. So I think for us, it's about ensuring that the SMEs get every banking requirement met when they bank with us. And it's not just about funding. It's also about having good transaction accounts. It's also having good digital service. It's also about having good trade network, financial institutions, etc., etc. And now I think as in the last 10 years, we've pivoted to being a very digital savvy bank. So we're offering state-of-the-art technology, but with the experience of the regional powerhouse that Emirates NBD now is. And it's really about giving customers the choice of how and where they want to engage with us.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Rohit. Maybe moving on to you, Majid. From a government partnerships perspective, how does Emirates NBD and government partners get involved?
So I think the partnership unit is quite important to note. It needs to act as servant leader for the whole organization. That needs to help enable, it needs to facilitate everything and to enable the business in terms of achieving its targets. We are not a core business, but we're here to serve the organization literally from top to bottom. And I think it's really cool 10, 15 years ago, Sheikh Mohammed actually had the vision. So when he said to the government, I want everything to be on the phone. This is the mindset of all of the government today. And now, with us being one of the most digitally penetrated economies, this is a chance for the bank to actually provide better services and to provide even the customers or even the citizens of Dubai better financial and better access to services. So the partnership is here to act and facilitate from both sides, both from the government side, from Emirates NBD, to enhance the whole public-private partnership.
So thank you, Majid. Now, Neil, I know you're passionate about startups. You host a show, I believe, right, every week.
Starting up, Dubai I 103.8. Listen to it Thursdays, 1 o'clock. That's my marketing spiel.
Quick plug-in, and we'll hopefully be joining you on that podcast one of these days. So let's talk a little bit about this partnership that we've just completed or in progress of. Neil, do you want to give us a start?
Yeah, so essentially, it's fairly obvious that a lot of people are moving to the UAE. They started because they knew that it was a lovely place to go on holiday. Then those that had friends that were working here wanted to set up businesses here, startups. Now, increasingly, you're starting to see people running global businesses and deciding to structure it from the UAE. That's an amazing opportunity. And I think more and more people feel secure to bring their assets, bring their money into the UAE and make it work much more efficiently here. What we've got to do is make that as seamless as possible. So when someone sets a company up with Virtuzone, obviously they're filling out all of their details, their UBO details, passport number, etc., etc., etc. Why is it that everyone in the UAE knows the number of their passport? It's because they've had to fill it out 100 times. Imagine if there was one safe with a key that I could give Rohit access to, I could give Majid access to, I could give Diwa, whoever it might happen to be, and just give them that key. All that information is there. So what we're trying to do, we're providing a quasi-government service. You're partners with the government. We're partners with so many government entities. And what the UAE is doing so very carefully is it wants to encourage people to be able to launch businesses. At the same time, I say to my customers, when it takes a couple of extra days to complete the due diligence, don't pull your hair out and shout and scream, because by getting the compliance right, it means that one rotten apple doesn't spoil the barrel. Now, technology allows us to do that much faster than has been the case. And that's how Virtuzone and Emirates NBD are partnering together, seeking to share information, seeking to make it faster for people to be able to set up. We're looking forward to a point where there's so much of the world now that is acting in a protectionist manner. You're going to see, what's going to happen in the elections in the States and so on and so on. The UAE has always been about free trade, about neutrality, about encouraging commerce. Large part of that means that you need to be able to move assets and funds as efficiently as possible. Technology enables us to do it faster. We are at the forefront of this, sometimes on behalf of Emirates NBD, and I'm very glad that we have an association with such an amazing brand, because trust, of course, is so important. Trust in the process. And, one thing I say is be careful about shortcuts, because you can set your company up super fast. But if you set up the company with the wrong activity or something like that, then you seek to do a transaction and it's perhaps frozen in the States. How many people have had that example? We together want to make sure that that doesn't happen for our customers. So we work together to share that information, to try and find out. Another thing that customers hate is when they don't know what they haven't provided. Given you all my document, why is it still, and if you can't answer that, it's very frustrating. So we're together trying to be as transparent as possible for the customer.
I love it. And Rohit, how did this partnership came to be, and how does it fit in your broader strategy for business banking at Emirates NBD?
Yeah, so look, our strategy for business banking, new client onboarding, is to make it as seamless and as easy for the client as possible. We almost 1 in 3 SMEs in Dubai or in the UAE banks with us as a group. So it's important for us to make sure that we are present where our clients are. And especially for new startups or new company setups, we've had a strategy of trying to be a partner to all those institutions where these new setups go, and Virtuzone being a case in point. So when they go to Virtuzone to get advice on how to structure their company and share their company data, and they get the help from them, we don't want to ask them for this entire data once again. Yeah, so we're making it as painless for them. That's on the private side, the business. But there is a lot of government partnerships that we're doing as well. So our whole strategy is to set up an ecosystem of partnerships, private sector, with the government institutions, and with all other institutions across the globe, where facilitation of new company setups in the UAE is happening. We want to consume that data and make it easier for the new setup to get a bank account or access to banking. It also helps us from a compliance perspective, because the same setup, that we don't want any data arbitrage between what they tell Virtuzone or what they tell the bank or then what they tell the government institution. So how do you make sure that this data portability is there? And so that's one question. The other is that we don't want any SME to get a trade license and then struggle for a bank account. Now, if you take the asymmetry out of that information, hopefully if the client is not bankable, he will not be able to get a trade license. I think that's the end point. That's what the government is also trying to do. And the third bit is there are various types of licenses. So how do you get a graded service or graded access to banking, which is transparent to the client at the outset? Even if somebody is trying to give him wrong advice in terms of the company setup structure, it's quite transparent to him that if he opts for structure A vis-a-vis structure B, it comes with certain bells and whistles in each one of the categories. And he'll not be, surprised later on when he actually comes to the bank asking for access to banking and he doesn't get it. So the whole name of the game is how to take information asymmetry away, how do you make it absolutely transparent, and how do you make it efficient and fast? I think that's what our end goal is.
Donman, you're making me want to start a company. It sounds so easy. So let's watch this space. Majid, what about you? So in terms of looking at this particular instance of government partnership, how did you sort of facilitate that with the business and with our partners?
So for us is where we need to always understand what's going on from the inner. So we try to bring the outside view to the bank. And there are times where, we're reactive. There are directives that are already happening within institutes, and we try to be part of this and try to serve this agenda. And there are times where we like to be this innovative bank. And what I like to call is becoming like a design partner. Governments try to find this new edge. So for example, today, the directive of designers is saying zero bureaucracy program, how I can minimize the steps for all the services that are provided to citizens. And this is definitely an aggressive agenda. And since this is quite industry or sector agnostic, we try to find ways to design this sometimes with different government entities by bringing our view as a more private sector, our expertise instead of so building it for the same objective, which is providing better services to citizens. And of course, this is we try to facilitate this across with different business units, whether it's retail banking, business banking, as well as sometimes corporate banking. So again, we try to serve the government, try to achieve or realize their agenda, but at the same time, how can we couple both, our internal capabilities? How can we couple, our expertise as well with the government, with the whole objective of enhancing the whole ecosystem and improving the economy?
Yeah, the forward-looking government is always great, and I love that term, design partners to try and find solutions for these problems. If one of our customers or one of these corporates or someone thinking about setting up a business was listening to us today, what would you kind of tell them, push them towards, Neil?
Time is money. So the most valuable asset that the listeners have is that they have either a business that's up and running or an idea to launch a business. And they're really good at that. What they should do is outsource the stuff that they're not so good at so they can focus on their core competence. Now, our job is to make that as easy as possible. And I think one of the things that's so exciting, we just announced partnership whereby with Sharoop, which has Mubadala and PIF as as partners in the fund, we've invested in a company that is registered at VARA, so Majid, government partnership with partners with VARA, who seek, in my belief, to make Dubai the most regulated place in the world where you can tokenize real-world assets. So where company could, for example, fractionalize itself and get access to money by borrowing against future revenues. Now, normally, that's a very arduous process, costly process in terms of time and money. And these are the sort of things that I know the gentlemen with me are bankers, and they control a huge oil tanker that is very valuable, so they have to be careful what they can say. But I know they're working on it. Virtuzone, we're a little speedboat that is a partner with this oil tanker, and we go out and we look for opportunities. Sometimes we come back and say, no, not yet, but we do that in partnership. The point is, we want to make it faster and easier because the UAE has got so much right already. But still, if you were to ask a startup, Silicon Valley or Dubai, there's going to be a reasonable number of them that are going to choose Silicon Valley. Well, if you've walked through the streets of San Francisco recently, I would suggest that you look otherwise. But one of the big things is we need to show people that they can get access to cash for growth. That is what we are seeking to do. And my final thing is, if you were having an event and you were given the opportunity to have people, all of whom had a black Amex, all of whom traveled first class and business class on Emirates Airlines, you'd say, yes, I want those kind of people. So in some ways, Virtuzone seeks to be like that with Emirates NBD. So Emirates NBD, we work very closely together, so they know exactly, as you were saying earlier, that if someone has been allowed to set up a license with us, they have gone through a little bit more compliance than we're legally obliged to do. Because we are aware that if you build the foundations from the beginning, then everything else can grow much faster. And I think that's how we work really well together, which is trust. And thus, because we have that trust, enabling the customer to move through things a little bit faster and with more communication than previously the case.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love that creative tension between safety, trust, the oil tanker, and then the speed and agility, and then coming up with solutions in sort of, harnessing both of those aspects. Rohit, what would you tell sort of our new prospective customers?
The UAE is a great place to do business. I think the government here is very, very forward thinking. Most of the setups, new companies that come here, they're surprised with how efficient the government is and how digitally savvy it is. I think the financial institutions are also quite financially savvy now, and the ecosystem of partnerships is growing. Emirates NBD was one of the founding members of the KYC blockchain registry when it was set up. It's had mixed results, but I think the government is now trying to take this forward and build a whole ecosystem. Now, we want that ecosystem to flourish because by design, it has to be a symbiotic relationship. It cannot be a closed loop with only the large banks. We want as many players on the ecosystem as possible. The second thing is, I think the data sharing is something which will really facilitate SMEs. And third thing is, SMEs that come here or new setups that come here, many of them still expect that this is a jurisdiction where there is less compliance, relatively less compliance. I think what they need to now also understand is that this is a very globally connected city and country. So compliance is now across borders and it's not related to only one jurisdiction. So if you're a compliant business, I think this is a great place for you. The government is efficient. The financial institutions are ready to serve you. I think the whole ecosystem of partnerships, of entities like Virtuzone who are there to facilitate and make it painless for them. The entire ecosystem is there for them, provided they want to do compliant business.
Sure. No, clear message there, Rohit. Thank you. Majid, what would you tell our customers that are listening in?
So again, echoing, what Rohit and Neil said is the UAE in general is just too aggressive with its agenda. They're in the game of doubling at the moment. Everything is to be doubled, the GDP, the impact, the number of processes as well to be double to the minus. So it's coming into it has a very aggressive and ambitious aspiration, to become a global leader, just a regional leader. And as Emirates NBD as well, we're quite fortunate to have a lot of tools that the government has provided, whether it's the tools around regulation or it's tools around experimentation. We are very fortunate enough to have those tools at our disposal to bring to the business and to have even different customers, whether it's business, to try to test new things. And we come in and recommend to the government in terms of change. So the government is very open for us to actually come and co-design change with them. And I think this is very important for people to understand from the outset.
Awesome. So we are at day 2 of Dubai FinTech Summit. I've been here for the last 3. But if you had one highlight for the Dubai FinTech Summit, I'll start with you, Majid. What would it be?
I think networking and the amount and the different innovations that we saw around and across.
Thank you, Majid. Rohit?
I have to confess, I've just come into the summit today, but I plan to look around. But having looked at various FinTech summits that's happened, it's a great show. I think Dubai was lacking this annual FinTech festival, which has started. So the number of participants is going up. And I think it's a great place to showcase technology, sign partnerships, and also pick up new tech trends that are coming in the market.
Awesome. And Neil, we'll wrap up with you.
FinTech is a facilitator for disruption, but you can't disrupt if you don't have the attitude. So whilst you're going to go out there into a show full of amazing technology, it's the fact that Dubai believes it can do it, the UAE believes it can do it, and it's got people that want to do it. You're not battling with legacy. You're not battling with committees that take a year to decide and are really, to be honest, thinking about getting re-elected rather than what's right for the country. It's the same thing as running a company. You run a company for its best interests, to grow, to be profitable, have happy customers and happy staff, you'll get to a much better place than if you run it purely for profitability. So I believe the country is doing that. Our partnership is seeking to mirror that. And I'm really, really excited. And I believe if we disrupt correctly, it's like a golden bullet. The rest of the world's already hearing about it, but there's going to be a lot more people coming. So be prepared for busier roads and very full Emirates flights.
I'm not sure I'm looking forward to the traffic, but I am looking forward to see how this partnership will flourish. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a great day.
Thanks, Sean.